Fear does not begin when danger appears. Fear begins when the mind imagines a future it believes it cannot survive. That is why two people can face the same threat, and only one collapses. That is why fear is not proof of weakness. It is proof of imagination. Machiavelli understood this long before neuroscience gave it language. Fear is not proof of danger. It is information to interpret. To him, fear was never the problem. Misunderstanding fear was. Modern psychology confirms what he observed through power and history. The brain reacts more strongly to anticipated threats than to real ones. People fear embarrassment more than pain. They fear loss of status more than loss of money. They fear rejection more than isolation. Fear is born in uncertainty. This is why Machiavelli believed power lived in predictability. People do not fear punishment itself. They fear not knowing when it will come, how it will come, or why it will come. When consequences are unclear, fear multiplies. When rules are stable, fear becomes manageable. Look at the modern world. Sudden layoffs, unclear social rules, online judgment without warning. This is not a fearful generation. It is a disoriented one. And disorientation is where fear thrives. Machiavelli noticed something else most people ignore. Fear does not affect everyone the same way. In some, it narrows perception. In others, it creates clarity. The difference is identity. Those who collapse under fear tie their worth to outcomes. Those who sharpen under fear tie their worth to adaptation. Machiavelli admired the second group. He called it vertp, the ability to act decisively inside uncertainty. Modern psychology calls it psychological flexibility. Different language. Same truth. Fear only paralyzes when you expect stability in a world that never promised it. And this is where fear turns dangerous, not when it hurts, but when it teaches self-betrayal. Fear becomes destructive when it convinces you to abandon your own judgment. You see this today, people repeating opinions they don't believe, staying silent to avoid backlash, accepting situations they privately despise. Machiavelli warned against this. A leader who fears public opinion loses authority. A person who fears rejection loses identity. Fear does not break you suddenly. It teaches you to lie to yourself slowly. If this feels uncomfortable, that's not a flaw in the message. It's the point. And if this kind of clarity matters to you, subscribe. Fear today is no longer physical. It is social, economic, reputational. One tweet, one mistake, one rumor. Machiavelli predicted this dynamic. When reputation becomes currency, fear becomes constant. People don't fear death. They fear being erased. That's why outrage spreads faster than facts. That's why people conform publicly and rebel privately. This is not morality. This is fear management. Fear also operates at the level of society. Fear multiplies when rules change without explanation. Punishment feels random. Authority feels distant. History proves this. So does the present. When people feel powerless, fear becomes contagious. Machiavelli's warning. Fear must be structured, or it turns into chaos. Modern example? Look at protests, online mobs, sudden social breakdowns. Fear unmanaged always explodes. And here lies his deepest insight, the one most people miss. Machiavelli did not fear fear itself. He feared desperation. Fear controls people who believe they still have something to lose. But desperation creates people who fear nothing. This is why revolutions happen. This is why systems collapse. This is why order breaks. Power survives not by removing fear, but by ensuring hope exists. This is Machiavelli's most misunderstood truth. So now bring this back to yourself. Where have you stayed silent out of fear? Where have you accepted instability as normal? Where has fear made you predictable? Machiavelli would say, once fear is seen clearly, it loses its grip. Not because it disappears, but because it becomes conscious. And nothing unconscious should ever rule you. Fear is not the problem. Unexamined fear is. Machiavelli did not teach courage. He taught awareness under pressure. And the person who understands fear can never be easily controlled again. If this gave language to something you felt but couldn't explain, subscribe. This channel is not about comfort. It is about seeing clearly. Fear does not only shape individuals, it separates them. Machiavelli noticed that fear draws a quiet line between two types of people, those who wait for permission and those who act without reassurance. Both feel fear, only one is ruled by it. The difference is not bravery, it is expectation. Those who expect protection collapse when it disappears. Those who expect instability adapt when it arrives. This is why Machiavelli believed strong leaders were forged in uncertainty. Not because chaos is noble, but because it exposes illusion. Fear reveals who is relying on guarantees that never truly existed. Modern psychology supports this. People raised in stable systems tend to experience greater anxiety when systems crack. People raised around instability develop faster threat assessment and emotional restraint. Fear sharpens those who expected it. Fear shatters those who didn't. This is not fairness. It is reality. Machiavelli warned that the most dangerous leader is not the cruel one, but the fearful one. A leader ruled by fear becomes reactive. They punish inconsistently. They overcorrect. They appease today and retaliate tomorrow. This creates confusion, and confusion multiplies fear. A fearful leader does not create safety. They create volatility, and volatility teaches people to lie. This applies beyond politics. In workplaces ruled by fear, people stop telling the truth. In families ruled by fear, love becomes conditional. In societies ruled by fear, obedience replaces trust. Fear corrupts communication first. Then it corrupts loyalty. This is why Machiavelli insisted that fear must be measured. Fear without structure becomes terror. Fear without boundaries becomes hatred. Fear without dignity becomes rebellion. This is not theory. History is saturated with proof. Empires did not fall because people were afraid. They fell because fear became arbitrary. Random punishment destroys legitimacy. Unclear rules destroy faith. Inconsistent power destroys order. Modern systems repeat this mistake constantly. Policies change overnight. Rules are enforced selectively. Consequences feel political, not principled. This creates a population that is not just afraid, but hypervigilant. Hypervigilance is where fear becomes identity. The mind no longer asks, "What is true?" It asks, "What is safe to say?" This is the psychological death of independence. Machiavelli understood that fear reshapes time perception. The fearful mind lives in the future, constantly rehearsing disasters that have not happened. Chronic fear keeps the brain in survival mode. Creativity drops. Long-term thinking collapses. Moral nuance disappears. Fear simplifies reality into enemies and shelters. This is why fear-driven societies become polarized. Not because people hate complexity, but because fear cannot tolerate it. Nuance feels dangerous when survival feels uncertain. Fear also distorts memory. People remember threats more vividly than safety, loss more clearly than stability, humiliation longer than kindness. This is why fear-based experiences shape identity more than peaceful ones. Machiavelli understood that humiliation is the most dangerous form of fear. Not pain, not punishment. Humiliation, because pain ends. Punishment passes. Humiliation rewrites self-image. A humiliated person does not seek order. They seek revenge or escape. This is why Machiavelli warned rulers never to touch what people hold sacred: their dignity, their family, their sense of worth. Cross that line and fear mutates into hatred. Hatred is uncontrollable. Fear can be managed, but it is internalized. You begin policing yourself. You anticipate rejection before it happens. You censor thoughts before they are spoken. You abandon desires before they are challenged. Fear becomes efficient. Machiavelli would say this is the most complete form of control, when the guard lives inside the mind. Modern culture unknowingly perfects this. Algorithms reward conformity. Outrage punishes deviation. Visibility becomes conditional. Fear doesn't need chains anymore. It needs uncertainty and spectators. And yet, fear does not only destroy. Fear also clarifies. Under fear, illusions die quickly. False confidence collapses. Unnecessary desires fall away. Crisis reveals competence, not intention, not morality. Fear exposes who can think under pressure. This is why some people sharpen during chaos. They stop wasting energy on fantasies of control. They focus on what can be influenced. Fear forces prioritization. The danger is not fear itself. The danger is refusing to learn from it. Fear asks questions most people avoid. What am I actually dependent on? What assumptions have I made about safety? What part of my identity collapses under threat? Machiavelli believed anyone unwilling to ask these questions would always be ruled by those who do. Fear also reveals where hope exists. People often believe hope eliminates fear. Machiavelli believed the opposite. Hope gives fear boundaries. Fear without hope becomes desperation. Fear with hope becomes restraint. This is why systems collapse when people feel trapped, not afraid, trapped. Fear says, be careful. Desperation says, nothing matters. Machiavelli feared desperation because it dissolves incentives. A desperate person is not brave. They are unreachable. This is when order dies. Modern events reflect this constantly. Economic collapse, social exclusion, loss of dignity. When people feel erased, fear loses its power. This is why fear alone can never sustain control. It must be paired with meaning, with possibility, with a future that still feels reachable. So when fear dominates your life, the real question is not, what am I scared of? It is, What future do I believe is still possible? Machiavelli would say fear becomes unbearable when the future feels closed. This is the hardest truth. Fear does not only shape individuals, it separates them. Those who expect protection collapse when it disappears. Those who expect instability adapt when it arrives. This is why Machiavelli believed strong leaders were forged in uncertainty. Fear reveals who was relying on guarantees that never existed. Fear sharpens those who expected it. Fear shatters those who didn't. Machiavelli warned that the most dangerous leader is not the cruel one, but the fearful one. A leader ruled by fear becomes reactive. They punish inconsistently. They overcorrect. They appease today and retaliate tomorrow. This creates confusion, and confusion multiplies fear. A fearful leader does not create safety. They create volatility. Volatility teaches people to lie. In workplaces ruled by fear, people stop telling the truth. In families ruled by fear, love becomes conditional. In societies ruled by fear, obedience replaces trust. Fear corrupts communication first, then it corrupts loyalty. This is why Machiavelli insisted that fear must be measured. Fear without structure becomes terror. Fear without boundaries becomes hatred. Fear without dignity becomes rebellion. History proves this. Empires did not fall because people were afraid. They fell because fear became arbitrary. Random punishment destroys legitimacy. Unclear rules destroy faith. Inconsistent power destroys order. Modern systems repeat this mistake constantly. Policies change overnight. Rules are enforced selectively. Consequences feel political, not principled. This creates a population that is not just afraid, but hypervigilant. Hypervigilance is where fear becomes identity. The mind no longer asks, "What is true?" It asks, "What is safe to say?" This is the psychological death of independence. Fear also reveals something deeper. Humiliation is the most dangerous form. Because pain ends, punishment passes. Humiliation rewrites self-image. A humiliated person does not seek order. They seek revenge or escape. Cross that line and fear mutates into hatred. Fear can also clarify. Under fear, illusions die quickly. False confidence collapses. Unnecessary desires fall away. Competence is revealed, not intention. Fear exposes who can think under pressure. Fear forces prioritization. The danger is refusing to learn from it. Fear asks questions most people avoid. What am I dependent on? What assumptions have I made about safety? What part of my identity collapses under threat? Machiavelli believed anyone unwilling to ask these questions would always be ruled by those who do. Fear needs hope to function. Fear without hope becomes desperation. Fear with hope becomes restraint. Desperation breaks predictability. It dissolves consequences. It creates actors who cannot be deterred. Fear is not about danger. It is about loss of control over meaning. People fear insignificance more than pain, confusion more than death. Fear hurts most when it feels undeserved. The world does not operate on deserving. It operates on forces. Those who understand forces feel less personally attacked by fear. Fear demands accuracy, not courage. Accuracy, seeing clearly what is happening. What is illusion? What is real? Fear loses dominance once it is named precisely. Fear examined becomes data, and data can be acted upon. Fear wants speed. Clarity wants time. The calm are not braver. They are less delusional. Fear wants urgency. Clarity wants deliberate observation. This is why fear-based systems always feel urgent. Everything is now. Everything is critical. Everything is a crisis. The person who resists urgency sees more, and the person who sees more becomes difficult to manipulate. Machiavelli did not want people fearless. He wanted them lucid. Fear rules those who treat it as a monster. Fear serves those who treat it as a signal. The world has never been ruled by the fearless. It has always been ruled by those who understood fear better than everyone else. And once you understand fear, you can never be ruled in the same way again.